From negotiating a fight against the Gypsy King after losing to Usyk twice in a row, to defeating Jermaine Franklin and claiming his first win since 2020. Here's why Anthony Joshua's begging to fight Tyson Fury. For starters, he's ready to take on a tough fight after that confidence boost. His promoter Eddie Hearn has confirmed that he needs to take at least 2 warm-up fights before he's ready to take on Fury. Although that's definitely going to push the fight to 2024, and fans are already desperate for it. I doubt they'll be able to wait any longer. Not to mention, Joshua's been on some kind of streak ever since 2020, especially after he lost to the Ukrainian, which practically destroyed his career. I mean, everything was pretty much going downhill from there. Let's not forget his emotional breakdown when he lost to him in their rematch again. So for 2023, after changing his trainer yet again and training day and night, he's set up for 3 shows for his comeback, starting off with his fight against Jermaine Franklin. Now let me tell you, this was a career-changing fight, because one more loss meant that it was all over for the British fighter. In fact, he confessed that if he didn't come back with a win, he'd be moving on towards retirement. It's not like he'd have a choice anyway, but the tables have turned because Joshua defeated his opponent on points. And while it may have been his first win in a while, that set him on the path to redemption. He still needs a lot more than this. If he wants to defeat Fury, he needs to step up his game. Barry Hearn, father of his UK promoter and founder of Matchroom Boxing, said that the former world champion needs at least 2 more wins. But it seems like Joshua isn't too patient. I mean, he's already called out his British heavyweight rival for an all-British blockbuster fight. Having said that, you've got to understand that there are 2 ways to look at this. Sure, he definitely needs a lot more training and practice, and of course, a confidence boost, before he builds the kind of form that can overpower the Gypsy King. At the same time, he also needs to give fans what they want, and they're not looking around for a couple of easy wins with a big fight pushed to 2024. I mean, we've already seen that before. First, they signed contracts to meet in the ring in August 2021 for the undisputed WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO heavyweight world titles in Saudi Arabia. But clearly, that never worked out because Fury had to focus on his trilogy with Deontay Wilder instead. And then in 2022, after his second loss to Usyk, it didn't take long before Tyson Fury finally called him out on a fight. Now let me tell you, fans have been waiting for this kind of fight over the past few years, and they were hyped. Plus, everything seemed to be going well. Both of them agreed to it verbally. The date was set. Heck, even the venue was set. But it still never happened. Why? Well, despite the ultimatums from the Gypsy King, he never signed the deal. Now, in the middle of all the chaos, AJ pointed out that his legal team was still reviewing the deal that had been sent over. And so, there were a few issues that were totally out of control. That said, a lot of fans assumed that it was nothing more than an excuse to cover up the fact that he didn't really want to fight the Gypsy King, at least not at the moment. He had just suffered a huge loss twice. He got called out for a big fight. He was stuck in a tough spot. Although now that I've seen how Fury's deal with Usyk fell through, I wouldn't be too surprised if his unpredictable demands were the reason AJ's legal team couldn't sign the contract either. In fact, even Joshua opened up about the Gypsy King's terrible negotiation tactics that have ruined potential fights. And I'm talking about some of the biggest fights in the heavyweight division that fans are literally dying for. But time and again, their representatives haven't been able to agree on any of the proposed fights in the past. Having said that, if he scores a win against his heavyweight rival, it's probably his quickest shot at winning back a world title. But is it that simple? I don't think so. Instead, most fans and professionals are predicting a Fury win if the fight ever happens. And I'm not really surprised about it either. For starters, the fight could have happened way back in 2021, after the Gypsy King knocked out Wilder in their trilogy fight. But Joshua was forced to face his mandatory Usyk and was eventually dethroned. And it's not like the negotiation worked out after he lost the rematch either. Fast forward to now, Hearn claims that talks are underway with Frank's son, George Warren, and it seemed like the two might be facing each other other as early as the summer of 2023. Although that didn't work out either. Frank stepped in to pour cold water over the news, saying it was a 30-second conversation. Not to mention, they hadn't discussed it with Tyson either. So I suggest not keeping your hopes up until they've got something more concrete coming their way, like a signed deal or so, because failed negotiations aren't new in the boxing industry anymore. Plus, let's not forget how the negotiations going through social media became the downfall of the fight with Usyk. As for the actual fight, despite Joshua counting on a big win to redeem himself, he needs to realize that this isn't another fighter like Franklin. If anything, the Gypsy King is known for overpowering his rivals with size and terror. But speaking to BBC Radio 5 Live, it seemed like the win gave AJ a massive confidence boost already. He taunted Fury, saying he needs me to redeem himself. And that's exactly why he thinks there's no better time to get his rival in the ring. Not only that, but he's waiting for the Gypsy King to call him out because he's ready to take on that kind of challenge. Meanwhile, since he ignored the ultimatums, Fury has dissed him a bunch of times in the past. But maybe the situation might switch up because he knows a fight between the two heavyweight rivals is going to be the biggest box office draw right now. Not to mention, he already lost the chance to have a money-making blockbuster fight with Usyk, so I doubt he'd want to do that again. Plus, it's not like he's thinking about any possibilities of losing either. If anything, the entire pressure is on AJ right now. And I gotta say, a lot of people aren't really confident about him right now. Even the people who know everything about his boxing style and skill set. His ex-trainer Roberto Garcia said he shouldn't be fighting Fury right now. Now, the former American professional boxer didn't stick around for long, especially right after Joshua replaced him, after he couldn't reclaim his IBF, IBO, WBA, and WBO heavyweight titles. But he knows his former client enough to criticize his mentality in the fight against Usyk. Plus, the lack of aggressiveness against Franklin is definitely enough reason for him to reconsider his potential fight against Fury. If anything, the fear was pretty visible in his eyes, along with his super-conscious jabs and combinations. And I gotta agree with Garcia on this one, because he can't let Fury see the same fear. It won't take long for the Gypsy King to take advantage of it and claim victory. All in all, he needs to be in a better mental state before he can get back out there, even if fans aren't willing to wait around that long, because another defeat is going to end his career anyway. But that wasn't the end of it. Garcia also mentioned that Joshua surrounded himself with yes men who tell him what he wants to hear instead of the bitter truth. And of course, that's not really what he needs right now. Having said that, only time will tell if a Joshua versus Fury fight actually becomes a reality anytime soon. Until then, that's why Joshua's begging to fight the Gypsy King.
Man, what it does for boxing, it just shows that it's booming. Of course, I'd love to sell out a stadium again, yeah, but I'm not complaining. I'm here, innit? I'm here to fight. I don't give a...